Dajahao, hi guys, it's Shanae and welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the delay, but I have a new mic that I hope is now producing better sound. If not, I'm gonna cry, because the thing was freaking expensive and it was an entire mess that I can't go into for why I needed a new mic in the first place, because I hadn't actually planned on getting a new mic for the live streamings just yet, because I technically can't afford it right now. But anyway, I hope the sound is okay. I really do. And also, we have new art, well, new old art here in the background. This was sent to me by a subscriber like 3 years ago, and I finally was able to put it up on my wall, so I'm very happy about it. So anyway, that is that, and I'm gonna see how tonight goes. We might do like 1 hour tonight, and then I could maybe do a live stream on a Saturday again. I really want to do a few weeks worth of twice a week live streams, because things have been a little bit hectic. I've missed a few live streams, so yeah, I hope you guys will still enjoy today's. We have quite a bit of strange things that happened in the last while, and then I just kind of had to disappear for a bit. So we're back, and yeah, I am very excited. I feel like I should probably wait just a little bit, but basically, if you're new here, hi, I'm Janae. I read Danmei. Apparently not very well, but yeah, it's a fun time here. I enjoy being able to kind of read it with other people, kind of get their feedback on it. It's just been very fun so far, and I take I take a 10-minute break on the hour. Usually, if we're only going to be going for an hour, I will see how my voice holds up. If we're only going to be going for an hour, then at the end of the hour we will be done, but otherwise there will be around 2 until the end of the next hour. And I have water here with, well, not water, cool drink here with me, but yeah, that is just to make sure that I don't torture you guys with how raspy my voice can sometimes get. So yeah, I think that is it. I don't want to keep you guys in suspense anymore, so without further ado, let's just get into it. I'm very nervous, if you can't tell. I feel like I haven't done this in a while. Okay. So for anyone who wants to follow along with the physical book, we were on page 137, chapter 127. Fishy daughter pregnancy. Oh, okay, it's happening. I don't have a pillow with me. We're just gonna go for it. Leo questioned the system, wanting to know what childbirth was like in human form. It would definitely be different from when he was a fish. He'd shoved pillows into his clothes before, but pretending was definitely different from the real thing. He was also afraid that he'd have 4 daughters all at once. Considering Prince Jing's history, I don't blame him. Sob, if that really happened, would his body still function properly? The system was quite detailed when it explained the missions around giving birth, most likely because it knew the user was a bit unreliable at times. The system told him in no uncertain terms that in human form he could only give birth to 1 child per pregnancy. Leo's heart, which felt about to explode out of his chest, finally settled back down. If it was only 1, he had the courage to try, and there were advantages to the human form too. Now that they were back in the capital and under the Emperor's nose, it was less risky than the fish form was, even though doing it as a fish was more convenient and painless. Fair enough. Though Prince Jing had reassured him that he would make all the preparations, it would be a disaster if the Emperor found out. Prince Jing and the 4 children would be implicated too. If he was in human form, though, he was the only one. Hi! Hope you've been doing well. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. He was the only one who would have to suffer a bit, and Prince Jing and the children would be safe. It would also reinforce the lies they had told back on the western border. That's that then, Leo thought to himself righteously. The system gave him a rundown of common pregnancy facts he should know for this time. It wasn't very different from a normal human pregnancy. Yeah, I have been gone for a while, but I'm still watching your reactions. No worries, I mean, life happens. I'm just happy to see you, that's all. Sorry. The system told him that when the child was born, she would be a normal baby who wouldn't turn into a fish, and she wouldn't need to complete missions as a human baby to turn into a young fish like her brothers had. Oh my word, immediately getting special treatment. Though Lier would suffer a little more, there was no extra danger posed to the child, which was another reason why Lier was willing to give it a try. He'd confirmed with the system that he was pregnant with a daughter, but since it took human pregnancies about 3 months to start showing, Leah wasn't in any rush. Leah felt bad that he'd hidden his pregnancy from Prince Jing the last time, since he was the other father. He definitely wouldn't hide anything from him this time around, he decided. As for the Emperor, they'd inform him once he was further along. Prince Jing was now the only deep prince who the Emperor valued, and too many people were targeting them, to the point that they were suffering from poison and assassination attempts. If he announced the pregnancy too early, Leo was afraid that someone would go after his unborn child. Honestly, fair enough. He transmigrated into the palace novel after all. He didn't want to make any mistakes. Leo told Prince Jing about his pregnancy first. Back when Prince Jing learned that he was pregnant with fish eggs, he'd become dizzy. Now, as he learned Leah was pregnant with a daughter and would give birth to her in human form, he almost drowned in happiness. But he sensed that something was wrong. You... Prince Jing's inquiring eyes fell on Leah's flat stomach. If this pregnancy was to take place in human form, wouldn't he have to go through the pain of childbirth? Leah understood his gaze and nodded. Prince Jing paused, realizing what a sacrifice this would be, and gripped Leah's hand tightly. Leah was willing to endure the pain of childbirth, even though he could easily lay eggs in fish form. Prince Jing was moved. I don't know if he would have chosen it if he had a choice. Never mind, I don't know. I know for a fact he wouldn't have chosen it had he not accidentally pressed the wrong button. He knew very well who this was for. He decided that this would be the only time he would ever let Xiaoyu suffer like this, at least before he took over the Empire. Afterward, he would help Xiaoyu hatch as many little fish as he wanted. Oh my word, they're gonna have an entire football stadium worth of children, aren't they? I won't let you suffer again, he promised. Leah gazed at Prince Jing with reddened eyes, touched by his sincerity. With this promise, the pain didn't seem like such a big deal anymore. Previously, when they were at the western border, Prince Jing had him pretend to be pregnant and waited on him as if he really was. He was better informed about pregnancy than Leah was, and when he learned Leah was pregnant this time, he immediately found a servant who was skilled in obstetrics, to check Leah's pulse at the same time each day. Their daughter was still too small to reveal to anyone else, but there were some things they had to avoid due to the pregnancy. Other than taking Leah's pulse, Prince Jing also gave Leah additional servants to take care of him and ordered them to follow him at all times to make sure Leah didn't get hurt. Leah was afraid the children might let it slip if he let them know too early, so he decided not to tell them yet. But although he used to pick them up quite often, recently it had become difficult. Even so, Fish Dad didn't shower them with any less love. Aww. He would still often play with them, tell them stories, and teach them the principles of being a human. Prince Jing is such a loving father and husband. They are such a cute couple. They really are. Like, this is definitely the healing balm I need after every single Urha volume, and I don't know what I'm gonna do now that we've run out of fish books before we ran out of Urha volumes. But that's a worry for another day. He'd heard that one had to take care of the older children's emotions when having another pregnancy. Leah was afraid the children would feel anxious, but so far they seemed fine. Leah had once probingly asked what they thought about him and Daddy Prince Jing giving them a younger sister. All 4 pairs of eyes lit up as they remembered the little girl at Uncle Ye's banquet. Want a little sister? The children were delighted. Leah let out a sigh of relief. He could only have one child at a time in human form, but at the rate he and Prince Jing were going, there would probably be more younger brothers and sisters popping out in the future. I still feel worried. As Leah began his pregnancy journey, Prince Jing started an investigation into the assassination at Jin Tai Hall, and they both waited for news from the Emperor. Prince Jing had looked into these assassins before, but because he'd been looking in the wrong direction, he came up empty-handed. This time, with Leah's reminder, he realized that whoever was behind the assassin could very well be the same person who'd poisoned him. They had already hypothesized that the Xiewuzi had come from Luolan, so Prince Jing started reading ancient books about Luolan. In one of them, called The History of Luolan, he found a suspicious record. The people of Luolan were skilled at fighting and poisons. Their battles often left their opponents without bodies to bury. This book didn't mention the specific method they used, but the way it was described definitely brought to mind the corpse-melting liquid. Leah was the one who'd come up with the name corpse-melting liquid. Prince Jing started using it himself because he thought it fit. Oh, this man would give Leah the world if asked. Okay. This particular clue made Prince Jing more inclined to believe Leah's hypothesis. It seemed very likely that the same person was behind everything. The history of Luolan also recorded the life of Chang'an Jin, the last king of Luolan. The two countries had become hostile after this. Chang'an Jin had angered the emperor. Although the Luolan people were good at fighting, they were still a small country and couldn't withstand the iron cavalry of the empire. Even so, Chang'an Jin stubbornly resisted and held on until the end, when he was captured alive by the greatest general of the empire and taken to the capital. The emperor was young and full of vigor back then and wasn't merciful to prisoners. To keep his life, Chang'an Jin had no choice but to give up his daughter as an imperial consort in exchange for his freedom. Oh yeah, because that's definitely not gonna go wrong in some way. Leah was reading The History of Luolan with Prince Jing, saying it was prenatal education for their daughter. Prince Jing spoiled him and let him do whatever he wanted. If Leah got tired, Prince Jing let him sleep on him. Frankly, their little daughter was only a few days old, not even a ball in her daddy's tummy, so all the prenatal education was going to Fish Dad himself. The history of Luolan was full of twists and turns, and for once Leah didn't fall asleep as they read. He read all the following records as well, and even found a brush to make notes. The emperor once had a foreign imperial consort, but there was no such person who fit the bill in the harem now. What did that mean? If a consort disappeared, then either she had died or she was thrown out. Leah remembered that the emperor had seemed to be deep in thought when he mentioned foreigners. If all of this had to do with is the sound low or is it just my headphones? Oh no, is the sound still bad? It's a brand new mic. Oh no, okay, that is very, very disappointing. I checked the sound and everything and it seems it's just still not up to scratch. I honestly don't know what to do. This is very, very frustrating. Just want to check something. How does this sound? I don't know if. Oh, that looks like it would hurt your guys' ears. Um, I am tweaking live right now on the sound, so I don't know if that was a terrible choice that I just made. It's louder for sure. I hope I didn't injure anyone's eardrums. I don't know. I don't know why the one is so loud and the other one is not. Okay, maybe there is hope for this brand new mic. Maybe I don't have to go cry in a corner. Yay! Okay. Okay, let us get back to business. Also, hi guys. Sorry, my bad. Okay. Um. If a consort disappeared, then either she had died or she was thrown out. Leah remembered that the emperor had seemed to be deep in thought when he mentioned foreigners. If all of this had to do with the destroyed Luolan, did the emperor perhaps remember the imperial consort from Luolan? But he hadn't said anything about it. Head eunuch Luo, head eunuch Luo, Luo as in Luolan. It's probably not the same law as it, because that would just be too obvious and very, very tragic. But let's see. Head eunuch Law would have the answers about the emperor's consorts that they needed, but he was away in investigating poor Leo's death and looking for witnesses, and he hadn't returned to the palace yet. At first, Leah thought he'd just wait to learn new clues from Head eunuch Law whenever he returned, and if he couldn't wait, he could ask someone else. Prince Jing lifted his head, his eyes flashing. There were unknown forces in the palace, so they had to find the truth as soon as possible. The enemy might have already realized that they'd been discovered when their assassin never returned. This enemy was more difficult than all the other princes put together, and they didn't know what their next move might be. Late that night, Prince Jing's guards, on his orders, brought back a dark cloth bag with someone inside. A blindfolded woman. Okay, that sounds slightly concerning. Prince Jing ordered Wang Shi to remove the blindfold. The woman was wearing shabby palace clothes. She squinted uncomfortably in the sunlight, but as soon as she realized Prince Jing was in front of her, she seemed surprised and sneered at him. "What did you bring me here for?" she demanded, glaring at him. Leah, protected by Prince Jing, was a little farther away. When he saw the woman's face and her aura, he thought she seemed familiar, but he couldn't put a finger on it. Please don't tell me this is the first consort that he got rid of, and he's just like forgotten it because to him it was so long ago and so unimportant. Maybe not. That was until a Mao came from the bag and a cat tumbled out. The guard wasn't sure how the cats got in there. Looking at this cat with fur so dirty one couldn't tell its original color, and the faded high-tongue blossoms embroidered on the woman's handkerchief, Leah suddenly came to a realization. Oh my goodness. This was Lady Cheer, the consort who had once wanted to drink 1,000 carp soup, and this cat was a Paishe, the enemy Leah met right when he transmigrated into the book. Wasn't Lady Cheer in the court palace? Why did Prince Ding order his people to sneak her out of there? Leah nudged Prince Ding's arm to let him know he was confused. Prince Jing couldn't let outsiders find out about his new ability to speak, so he ordered Wang Shi to interrogate her for him. Smart. And I was just about to comment, it's kind of nice that they are still doing the silent communication thing because they're so used to it. I mean, that's the way they communicated for so long that it makes sense that even though he can technically speak now, that wouldn't be the default. Mm. Lady Qie, Wang Shi said, His Highness has something to ask you. Be smart and answer whatever he asks. Don't think of playing any tricks. If His Highness can sneak you out without anyone noticing, he can send you back without anyone noticing too. In a body bag. Lady Cheer hated Prince Jing from the bottom of her heart. She wanted to ignore him. But since her life was in his hands, she had no choice. What do you want to know? She said, still glaring at him fiercely. Prince Ding glanced at Wang Shi, who said, "About one of the Emperor's consorts from Luolan." Lady Cheer paused and smiled, delighted. "Dead for a long time. Why are you asking about her?" "Hi!" Oh, goodness. "Just answer the question," snapped Wang Shi. "Cut the chit-chat." Prince Jing's thoughts were that aside Prince Jing's thoughts was that aside from head eunuch Law, the older concubines who'd been with the emperor for much longer would also know about the consort from Luolan. Smart. Lady Cheer was the perfect choice. She had been deposed by the emperor and banished to the cold palace, so he could use specific methods to meet with her that wouldn't work on any other consorts. You're talking about Consort May? If Prince Jing had asked about anything else, Lady Cheer might not have been able to answer. But she at least knew of this person. The history of Luolan only recorded the fact that Chang Anjun had presented his daughter to the emperor. Afterward, all it said was that she was beautiful and elegant. That is depressing. The fact that all that is known about a woman who held any position of power, she was used as a bargaining chip, she assumedly kind of like saved her father's life by the sacrifice of her own, getting married to the emperor. All that's recorded of her is, oh, she was beautiful and elegant. Not her name, not her face, not any of her accomplishments, just beautiful and elegant. Great. Thank you. When she entered the palace, the emperor had rewarded her with the title of Consort May. Leah's eyes lit up. May meant plum, and the assassins had plum blossoms on their sword hilts. Was that a coincidence? It seemed that the emperor was very fond of this consort May, since he rarely gave titles to his concubines. Even Lady Cheer, at her most favoured, had never been given a title. But consort May didn't feel the same. She was handed over to the emperor by her father, Chang'an-jin, and she didn't want to enter the palace. 3 days after she joined the harem, she'd started to assassinate. She tried to assassinate the emperor and was sentenced to death. And yet, assumedly, she survived, because how else are we in this situation? I'm so happy to be back. Okay. From then on, the emperor felt that it was dangerous to take on concubines who might not be loyal, so he never accepted another foreign concubine. He was also furious with Chung Anjin. The king had originally been demoted until he didn't even have a title anymore, but because of Consort Mei, the entire Lulan royal family became slaves. Oh crap, okay. Consort Mei's story was short, complete in just a few sentences. Lady Cheer stayed where she was when she finished. Prince Jing ordered the guards to take her back to the cold palace. She gritted her teeth and knelt down. I've told you everything I know. Can you do me a favor? Prince Jing looked at her, waiting for her to speak. Leah thought she was going to ask Prince Jing to get her out of the cold palace permanently. After all, life was difficult there. But instead, Lady Cheer pointed to Piao Shi. You can do what you want with this cat, she whispered. I don't want it anymore. I'm sorry, I love cats. I literally just finished reading a manga about a older person adopting his first ever cat. So I think I'm just feeling hypersensitive about that right now. Oh my goodness. Okay. Leah and Princeling stared at her. With that, she got into the bag on her own. It seemed like it seemed like her cat intended to follow her, but she started yelling at it before it could climb in. Piao Xie seemed to be used to being scolded. After a couple of sentences from Lady Che, it didn't dare move anymore. Okay, no, please take the cat and give it a better life. Damn. When it finally looked up, its owner had disappeared. Piao Xie waited, crying miserably, but Lady Che never looked back. What were they going to do with this cat? Piao Xie had caught Leo once, when he was a fish. He had just transmigrated, so he was pretty confused at the time, and since fish and cats were naturally enemies, he didn't have a great impression of the cat. If it was some other kind of small animal, he might be able to keep it to raise. What did Lady Cheer want them to do? Tianqi, can I? In the end, Piao was just a cat. It hadn't done anything wrong. Lie hesitated a bit before making his decision. Piao had offended Prince Jing before too. Would he agree? Yes, please save the cat. Yes, justice. Absolutely, we need the justice. What a horrible pet owner. Okay. Page 400, sorry, 147, chapter 128. Fish helps cheers cat. There we go. I like that title. Prince Jing seemed to know what Leah was going to ask and surprisingly shook his head at him, his gaze falling onto Leah's stomach. He's a human. I don't think the cat is gonna endanger him right now. Leah immediately knew what he meant. He was worried that it would be inconvenient since Leah was pregnant. Leah didn't know if he should laugh or cry. I'm not going to raise it. I just want to find it a good home. Okay. Though Lady Cheer had scolded the cat fiercely, Leah could tell that she still loved it. The cat had been in the bag with her the entire time the guards carried it over. If she really didn't want it, why would she do all this just to leave it at Prince Jing's manor? Okay, so he's implying that she wants a better life for it? Better life than she can give it because she's in the cold palace? She'd even knelt in front of Prince Jing for her cat. Though she cursed at it a lot, she was actually helping it escape. It must have been living with her in the cold palace since she was deposed. Lady Cheer, who was once flattered and sought after by many, now only had a cat by her side.
Flattery when everything was going well could not compare to the company kept when one hits rock bottom. It was unexpected that the once cold, aloof noble consort would lower her head for the sake of the cat. Okay. I'm not completely placated, but we'll see where this goes. Leah judged the case in isolation. It wasn't a matter of principle. Just like Lady Cheer said, she'd answered Prince Jing's questions, and thus hoped Prince Jing could help her. It was a simple exchange. Prince Jing had originally refused because he was afraid that Leah and the unborn child would be in danger, but if Leah wasn't going to raise the cat himself, he had no reason to object. With his mind made up, Leah asked Wang Shi to note down which families were a good fit for the cat. This wasn't a hard task at all, and Wang Shi quickly found a good family that was well off and willing to raise a cat. Piao Xue definitely wouldn't go hungry there, so it ought to be a pretty good place for it. Wang Shi quickly took the cat over. Leah even had him bring a couple of things the cat might like too, worried that Piao Xue would throw a tantrum at being given away so suddenly. Everything was fine at first, but the next day the family came to tell them that the cat had disappeared in the middle of the night. Leah froze. What were they going to do about this? He'd messed things up somehow by trying to help out. Since he was the only one who'd asked Wang Shi to find the cat a home, he couldn't just ignore it. Leah hesitated for a moment before asking Wang Shi to look for Piao Xue. A couple of days passed, and Wang Shi didn't find the cat. Oh no, I'm nervous, I'm nervous, I'm nervous. Okay, I'm imagining Da Bao and the gang with a cat. My goodness. She always cared about the cats. I mean, yes, Sabal and the others would probably forcefully give the cat kisses, especially Sabal. I feel like he would be the cat's best friend. It feels like something Sabal would do. Okay. Then, in the middle of the night, Leah was woken by a cat wailing outside his window. Prince Jing guided Leah outside, and they found Piao Xue in the yard being chased around by Leah's pet ducks and rabbits. Oh my goodness, not the cat being bullied by the ducks and the rabbits. The pet ducks and rabbits weren't scared of the cat at all. Prince Jing intervened and separated the animals, pulling Piao Xue to the side. The cat was dirtier than it had been a couple of days ago, and when it saw Prince Jing and Leah, it wailed more and more pitifully. Did the cat disappear to run back here? Leah wondered. But the cat didn't even know them that well, so why would it come to look for them? Piao Xue kept meowing. Wang Shi gave it some food, and Piao Xue ran over, sniffed it, licked it, walked away, and kept meowing. What was up with this cat? Leah was confused. He didn't understand what the cat wanted. But as a pet, Leah grinned. He was a pet too. If his owner gave him to someone else, he would be very unhappy, and even more than that, he would want to look for his owner. So Piao Xue probably wanted to return to Lady Cheer. Since it had been taken out of the cold palace in a bag, Piao Xue didn't know the way back. Had it come back to Prince Jing's manor because it was the only place it knew, and it was hoping they would bring it home? Leah turned to Prince Jing. Tianchi, can you help me with something? Prince Jing guessed what he was thinking and smiled. No need to ask. My people are yours. Leah nodded, beaming. He ordered the guards who'd brought Lady Cheer over to send the cat back to her. He and Lady Cheer were both wrong to assume that Piao Xue would be happier after leaving the difficult conditions in the cold palace. Perhaps to Piao Xue, a gold or silver bed could never compare to a bed next to its owner. You are not going to make me frickin' cry over a fish book. I refuse. But also, that is just really sweet and also accurate. I feel like, for me, I've always believed that cats choose their owners, while owners choose their dogs, if that makes sense. Sorry, just quickly, I'm having a pop-up here that is frustrating me. Okay, there we go. Your owner's your husband. Oh goodness. I didn't think about that. Mm. Even Li himself thought Prince Jing was his home. It was the same logic. Piao Shi seemed to understand when Li asked the guards to take it back. Its sapphire-like eyes shone brightly. Before they left, Wang Shi wanted to give the cat a bath and wipe it clean, but it broke free from Wang Gong and ran to a corner of the courtyard. It dug up something from the dirt there and ran over and dropped it at Lia's feet. Wang Shi picked it up. It was a small, dried fish. Oh, great. The corner of Lia's mouth twitched. Thanks a lot, I guess, giving me fish dried and a fish dried fish. The guard had just left with Pao Shi when the system refreshed. User, sharing a country with the Tyrant is in progress. Please be prepared. Now? Okay. Huh? What did sending Pao Shi away have to do with sharing the country? But the system obviously thought it was connected somehow, so maybe it would be revealed soon. He'd always assumed that the mission would only progress once Prince Jing ascended to the throne, but apparently that wasn't the case. The guard soon came back to tell Li Yuan that Lady Che was very happy to see her cat returned. Apparently she had regretted her decision as soon as she returned to the cold palace, and she said that she would never send Piao Shi away again. Though Li Ye had made everyone do a bunch of pointless work for Piao Shi, the conclusion was unexpectedly satisfying. Okay, she is not the worst. At least she is someone who cares about her cat. Because I honestly don't think we could say the same about the Sixth Prince. He didn't even really seem to care about his child or his wife. The guard also told Leah that the guards at the Cold Palace were, for some reason, much more lax than usual. Leah didn't quite understand the guards' words, but Prince Jing frowned a little. The Cold Palace was filled with people who had been punished because they had fallen out of favor with the Emperor. The guards there rarely changed, so why had they changed now? Oh no. Hi! Um, I think she cared about the cat more than her son. Oh, that's actually kind of a good point. Prince Jing thought about it for some time. In the end, he ordered Wang Shi to send a letter to the palace. This was unusual. Prince Jing had people in the palace, but he almost never contacted them. But even after a night had passed, there was no new news from the palace. Even Lier felt like something was off. Had Prince Jing's people run into something unexpected? Prince Jing hadn't seen the Emperor in a couple of days, so he entered the palace to ask to meet him. If there really were Luolan forces in the palace, that would also pose a threat to the Emperor. According to the rules, if he wanted to meet the Emperor, he had to make a request. But before Wang Shi even managed to step out of the manor, the palace servants showed up. Your Highness, Prince Jing, consort, the Emperor has summoned you. Oh crap, okay. The person who came to pass along the message was an unfamiliar servant. It would usually have been head eunuch Luo or one of the servants who worked under him. Why does it feel like everyone in the palace is either dead or being held hostage? I'm a little bit worried. Wang Shi was very familiar with all of them. Hearing this message from a stranger instead put Wang Shi on guard, and he asked the servant some questions. The servant didn't like to speak, though, so after a few questions he took out the edict and placed it in front of them. When Wang Shi saw the edict, complete with the seal, there was nothing he could say. The emperor had summoned both of them, but Prince Jing didn't want Leah to tire himself out, so he wanted to go on his own and ask for forgiveness on Leah's behalf. But Leah held his arm. I rest all the time, so how could I be tired? He said, smiling. Don't worry. Just because he was pregnant didn't mean he couldn't walk anymore. He thought Prince Jing was being a little overprotective. Uh, I'm stressed. I'm stressed. I feel like he's about to regret that thought. Um, we'll see. But I see we're on the hour. I think we're gonna keep going for another one. So I'm just quickly gonna go make myself some tea and then we will be back at 10-ish past. Okay, we are back. I hope the audio is still okay. Let me just quickly check what's going on here. Okay, cool. Seems I didn't miss too much in the chat. Think. But yeah, I hope the audio is still okay. And not back to being too quiet. So let me quickly see here. We were at the top of page 152. Let's get going. Besides the emperor's edicts, besides the emperor's edicts only required that they go to see him. By now, Leah had seen the emperor several times already and was quite familiar with the whole affair, so there was no need to disobey the emperor. Prince Jing was only a step away from the position of crown prince. It wouldn't be worth it now to do something that made the emperor unhappy or anything else that might lead to criticism. I have an insane theory. Bear with me. So we have the dead fish, right? That Piaget gave Leah, and somehow that triggered the system into being like, the final mission is in progress. What if they're gonna use the corpse of the fish as like, oh look, Prince Jin's fish has died, so for whatever reason that the enemy might have used Leah against Prince Jing and his fish form doesn't hold any weight anymore because the fish has died. Like, that feels absolutely insane and ridiculous to say, but also we're reading a fish book, so I don't know how harshly to judge myself right now. Leah wore a "take me, I'm super sweet" expression, and Prince Jing laughed and agreed. But he still insisted on bringing several extra servants to take care of Leah. Leah suddenly remembered that sure the country had been refreshed. Could this trip to the palace have something to do with Prince Jing ascending to the throne? Was it an important event? There were still hostile forces in the palace. Out of caution, Leah placed a couple of things in his inventory, including a sharp dagger. They got to the palace quickly, but the servants didn't take them directly to Qianqing Palace. Instead, he led them into Qianqiu Hall and had them wait inside. No sooner had they entered and sat down than several teams of guards came and surrounded the hall. "Great, I'm not worried at all. The Emperor has been feeling unwell," the servant said apologetically. "These are the Emperor's orders. Please forgive us, Your Highness. The other princes are at Tianjin Palace right now, and the Emperor requested that you join them as soon as possible." "What, join them in death? What are you on about?" Prince Jing and Leah glanced at each other, sensing something was wrong. The Emperor had been in great health the last time they'd seen him. How had he become unwell in a few days, and why hadn't the servant mentioned it before they left the manor? The Emperor hadn't been sick around the time in the novel. No, the plot had changed long ago. Leah's heart was beating furiously. He stopped the servant to ask, "How is royal father feeling? Which imperial physician has seen to him?" "What was the diagnosis?" The servant hesitated. "The Emperor caught a chill at night, and it may be a cold. Imperial physician All of the imperial physicians are with him. Please rest assured." This person's answers sound dodgy as all hell, is all I'll say. Oh, goodness. The servant was quite unclear in his answers, and some details that should have been obvious were wrong. Head Eunuch Law would have never made this mistake. And not only was the servant incorrect, he had to be prompted before he would say anything. He had a bad feeling about this. Was there something to hide about the emperor being unwell? There were a lot of guards surrounding Chenchir Hall, while the number of guards at the Cold Palace had decreased. Leah and Princeton couldn't help but glance at each other again. Leah could tell that Princeton thought it was suspicious too. The servant seemed to want to separate them. "I've already come to the palace," Leah said hesitantly. "Why don't I go with His Highness?" But the servant stopped him and said with a troubled expression, "The Emperor summoned you to the palace, but he only asked His Highness to meet him at Chenching Palace. You should wait here. Perhaps the Emperor will summon you soon." Guys, I'm nervous and I don't have any other pillows besides this one, which I'm currently using to hold my book up. So, okay. The servant kept citing the Emperor's orders, so it was difficult for Liu to oppose him. No matter what they were hiding, Prince Jing had to follow the Emperor's orders and go. That was the only way to find out what was happening with the Emperor. Okay, but you could also just be walking into an ambush. Are we taking note of that as a possibility? Prince Jing pulled Liu closer and straightened his slightly crooked collar. "Tianchu," he said softly, wanting to remind Prince Jing to be safe. Prince Jing nodded and took Liu's hand. He quietly wrote "guard" in his palm to remind Liu that the guards would protect him. He'd already thought of everything Liu was afraid of or worried about. Prince Jing shook his hand again as if he was saying goodbye. "Your Highness, wait," he said after a moment's thought. "Let me fix your collar first." "What are you up to, Liu?" The servant who'd been staring at them the entire time thought this was a bit too sappy and turned his face away quietly. Liu quickly adjusted Prince Jing's collars and cuffs. He even crouched down to check his cloud-patterned boots. Prince Jing hadn't been expecting this. Surprised, he moved to help him up, but Liu shushed him silently with a finger. Under Prince Jing's gaze, he quickly tucked the dagger into his husband's boot. "Thank you. I'm glad we have a smart consort on our hands, because I am nervous, and I feel like we're too far away from the end for this to be the ending climax, you know?" Chapter 129. Fish Becoming Smart. Oh goodness, okay. After Prince Jing left, Leo ordered the guards to stand guard in the hall so he could calmly go over recent events. I'm just realizing that means he doesn't have any way of protecting himself, which is great. Just another thing to stress about. Perhaps he felt a little bit calmer these days because the sixth prince was imprisoned. Prince Jing's muteness was cured, and he'd become pregnant with their daughter. Meanwhile, they were much closer to discovering the identities of the people behind Prince Jing's poisoning. Prince Jing was still in the middle of his investigation, so he hadn't had enough time to complete his preparations. He had believed in Prince Jing's protagonist Halo without thinking. He assumed that Prince Jing would definitely be able to overcome anything, even though none of this had been mentioned in the original novel. Thus, they'd been caught off guard by the enemy. Now that he thought about it, the Emperor had begun to avoid them when they mentioned that the enemy could be related to Luo Lan. Could it be that right then the Emperor had fallen under someone's control, instead of simply starting to avoid them for his own reasons? When he'd mentioned that Shiwuzi grew on snowy mountains, it had been clear from the Emperor's expression that he knew something. I don't want the Emperor to die or be turned against them or come to some kind of harm. Like, I actually really liked him, despite his flaws. Hevia Claw had been gone for a long time as well. Leah had been careless. Perhaps he'd been captured too. Without Laura Sheng, the Emperor was missing a layer of protection. Even though there was Imperial guards around him, the enemy had hidden in the palace for so many years that if they decided to attack, the Emperor would probably fall into their trap. No, he might have fallen into their trap already. Even the guards in the Cold Palace had changed. That meant the enemy might really be in control of the guards. They might even be able to use Imperial edicts to summon people to the palace. There we go. The more Leah thought about it, the more he regretted it. Why hadn't he thought of this earlier? They didn't know the Emperor's current status, and Prince Ding had gone to Qianqing Palace. Please, let him be all right. Though Prince Ding would always come out safe according to the system's rules, Leah didn't want the Emperor to come to any harm either. The Emperor was one of the only people in the world who treated Prince Ding well. That actually hurts a little bit. In the original novel, after the Emperor was injured by the Sixth Prince, he remained bedridden for the rest of his life. Leah had thought that the Sixth Prince was the one behind everything, so he assumed that as long as Prince Jing defeated the Sixth Prince, the Emperor would be fine. My bad. Who would have expected a hidden boss? Did this boss exist in the original novel? The answer was definitely yes. Prince Jing was mute in the original book, and Leia had seen Prince Jing's children speaking in the system. That wasn't a coincidence. Prince Jing in the novel must have been poisoned as well by the same person. But why did the enemy fail to face Prince Jing in the book? Perhaps because in the original book, the fight between Prince Jing and the Sixth Prince was fierce. The Sixth Prince's influence remained strong until Prince Jing bathed the court in blood. Whoever was behind his poisoning had always stayed hidden. Perhaps Prince Jing had accidentally wiped them out in the process. That's a grim thought, but maybe the process of elimination would help in this. Or perhaps they were allied with the Sixth Prince and Prince Jing took them out in the assumption that they were one of his lackeys. But now Prince Jing had successfully defeated the Sixth Prince, who barely had any supporters anymore, and Prince Jing wasn't a tyrant either, and wouldn't bathe the palace in blood like he had in the novel. That was why this mysterious force had come to light. Were they going to do something to the Emperor? Leah and Prince Jing had found out about Luolan and Consort Mei. Those people all had good reason to hold a grudge against the Emperor. There were probably a lot of people involved, so how did they all stay concealed? Leah had previously hypothesized that the person who poisoned Prince Jing most likely had a high status. Those related to the royal family could be ruled out, as they lived outside the palace. It would have been impossible for them to detain the Emperor in such a short amount of time. Then, within the palace, he thought of the consorts. Among the consorts, who could be related to Luolan or Consort Mei? Were they originally from Luolan, or did they have some other sort of past with Luolan or Consort Mei? The latter didn't seem likely. Consort Mei had been sentenced to death just a few days after entering the harem. Leo was still trying to think when the servant who had separated him and Prince Jing came looking for him. Consort, the young Shizu won't stop crying in the Imperial study room. Please come and help. Oh, now he's a babysitter? That's a very weak excuse. Also, I see my stream lagged for a second. I hope it's still going okay. I'm not sure if there was anything that maybe got missed. Leah's heart skipped a beat. When I left the manor, he was still there, he said, doing his best to calm down. Why is he suddenly in the palace? The servant smiled. The emperor summoned him, just a little bit later than you, consort. Predicting that Leah wouldn't believe him, the servant took out a silver bracelet. All these people are thorough. I hate this. We're taking this follow, okay? I need the emotional support. I'm stressed. The guard next to Leah was one of Prince James. He took the bracelet and only handed it to Leah after making sure there was nothing wrong with it. Leah examined it closely. The bracelet was rounded, meant for a child's wrist, and there was no sharp engravings. There was a small etched fish symbol, colored with gold powder on the inside of the bracelet. The bow had been gold when he was a young fish. Leah was very familiar with the fish symbol on the inside of the bracelet. He'd drawn the shape himself, and Prince Jing had ordered someone to carve it in. This was no doubt the bow's silver bracelet. Leah felt a chill creeping all the way up his body from his feet, and he could barely keep himself upright. Back at Prince Jing's manor, Huang Shi had been left to take care of the children, while Prince Jing and the consort entered the palace. Wang Gonggong was very fond of the children, happy to play with them, even if he had to become a horse for the young masters to ride. Not long after Prince Jing and the consort left, someone else from the palace came, saying that the emperor had ordered the young Shizi to the palace. It was common for the young Shizi to enter the palace. When Wang Shi saw the servant had a token to enter and leave the palace, he busied himself with making tea, while he ordered the other servants to pack up the bow's belongings. But the servant said this was an urgent summon, and that there was no need for Wang Shi to waste his time. Why would he call preparing this young master a waste? I assume nothing will happen to Dabao. I'm just worried for Wang Shi's sake, because I'm not so sure that he's gonna make it out alive. I hope so, though. I don't want any murder of the people that I care about in a Happy Fish book. Wang Shi didn't really like how the servant spoke. When he went to pick up Dabao caught a glimpse of the servant he'd never seen before and hid behind Wang Shi in fear and held his arm, whispering, "Dabao won't go." Mm. Wang Shi patted Dabao on the back comfortingly. "Be good, young master," the servant said, smiling. "The consort is waiting for you in the palace. I'll take you to see him right now." Dabao shook his head like a rattle. In the past, Grandpa Emperor always sent head eunuch Lord to pick Dabao up, or his two daddies would take him. Fish Dad told him that strangers who used his name to whisk the fish babies away would lock them up, not let them eat, and not let them see Fish Dad. There we go, he trained them well. Oh goodness. Taught them well, my bad. Dabao won't go. Dabao said stubbornly. Daddy said it's scary. The other children agreed. Sabao, who was usually the most confused, didn't hesitate. "You're a bad guy." Looking embarrassed, the servant tried to convince Wang Shi instead. "His Highness and the consort aren't here, so I defer to the young masters." Wang Shi replied coldly, "If the young Shizi doesn't want to, then I will accept a future punishment." Realizing that even orders from the emperor were useless, the servant excused himself angrily, saying he would ask for further instructions from the palace. Okay, but we still have the freaking bracelet, so clearly something went wrong, despite their best efforts. Wang Shi comforted the children, his expression turning serious. All the recent visitors from the palace have been unfamiliar faces, so the oral edict may have been fake. How dare they pretend to be carrying out the emperor's will? She was now worried about his two masters' safety. If the summons was fake, then was it possible that the edict was fake as well? Something must have happened in the palace. She was concerned that servants might come back with more people, so he made a bold decision to bring the children to the house of Chang'an and asked the former Duke of Chang'an for protection. Be still, my beating heart. I love Wangxi so much. The house of Chang'an had always helped Prince Jing when needed. When he learned that Wangxi had brought the children, Ye Qingyuan came out himself to greet them and brought the children to see the former Duke of Chang'an. Wangxi didn't dare embellish the story when faced with Ye Qian, so he simply recounted the visits from the two separate rounds of servants and how Prince Jing and his consorts entered the palace. Ye Qian, holding Erbao and Sanbao, was deep in thought for a long time. It sounded like something was definitely wrong. He had um he had Ye Qingyuan go to find out more. Ye Qingyuan returned shortly and reported that the palace doors were all closed. Not suspicious at all. The guards bluntly told him that the emperor had ordered no one to enter without his permission. It looked like something really had happened at the palace. Ye Qian didn't dare delay any longer. He ordered the Duke of Chang'an to follow him to Prince Li's manor. Though the emperor wasn't letting anyone into the palace, Prince Li was the head of the imperial clan court and the emperor's younger brother, so he had certain privileges. If he wanted to enter the palace, the guards wouldn't be able to stop him. Ye Qian needed the support of the royal family and Prince Li. Okay, there's hope, there's hope, there's hope. You must remain calm. Li had identified Dabal's small silver bracelet. For a moment his heart sank, but he remembered the lessons he learned at the western border. He told himself that he had to calm down and not make the same mistake he had then. Oh, everyone's just making me so proud right now. Trying his best to steady his breathing, he pretended to not recognize the bracelet. Without waiting for the servant's reaction, he tossed the silver bracelet back at him and ducked into a room. He ordered his guards to guard the door and immediately entered the system. A silver bracelet on its own didn't mean anything. He had other ways to confirm the children's safety. In an ancient world where long distance communication was done by shouting, he still had the system, his golden finger. Nia clicked on the fish children's status option in the system to check on them one by one. Fortunately, he found the four children were all together, laughing and babbling alongside a beautiful little girl. Wangxi was silently standing to the side. That little girl. Leah recognized her. It was Qinghe Junju, I think. Then he noticed the former Duke of Chang'an as well as Ye Qingyan and his wife. The children were at the house of Chang'an. Though he didn't know why they were there, Leah knew that he could stop worrying if they were with the former Duke of Chang'an. It was foolish of them to try to trick him with the silver bracelet. Dabal must have lost it. I mean, it wasn't that foolish. You almost fell for it, and had they not tried a similar tactic before, you would have fallen for it. And honestly, I wouldn't actually have begrudged you. After a bit, Leah recalled that Mu Tianxiao had once sent a confidant to sneak into Prince Jing's manor through the wet nurse, Madame Qin. Blood wasn't the only thing that was taken then. The small silver bracelet disappeared as well. It was probably the same one. So these people are in league with Mu Tianxiao. I'm not sure. The sixth prince was already imprisoned, so why was the bracelet taken by the sixth prince's confidants in the hands of an enemy linked to Roland? It didn't make sense for them to be working together. If they were, why hadn't they stepped forward to help the sixth prince when he was in trouble? Why did they choose to make a move now? Leah felt like he was closing in on the truth. He was still trying to pressure him from outside the room, but he furtively dug a hole for them and sprinkled some dirt on it. My apologies. I'm still waiting for His Highness to come back. I can't leave. If Jabal won't stop crying, then please bring him here. He wants to see how they would try to cover up their lie. Oh, goodness. Okay. Chapter 130. Fishy playing dumb. The servant obviously couldn't produce Dabao out of thin air, so he kept trying to convince Leah to go over there himself. Leah now felt even more certain that this was a trap, and so they came to a stalemate. He was quickly analyzing everything in his mind. The children were safe, and he and Prince Jing were temporarily separated in the palace. If the enemy was still attempting to trap him with a lie about Dabao, they must not be ready to expose themselves yet. They just wanted to get him to go on his own and leave Prince Jing's guards behind. Perhaps they were weary of Prince Jing's guards. Leah sensed that they didn't have full control of the palace yet, so they didn't dare confront Prince Jing's guards head on, and had to try and deceive him. If he'd fallen for it, he might have been captured and used to threaten Prince Jing. Was waiting the only thing he could do now? Prince Jing had gone into Chen Qing Palace alone. Though he had the protagonist's halo, Leah was still quite worried. If he could think of a way to help Prince Jing by delivering the news to Ye Qingyan and the others outside the palace, the former Duke of Chang'an might be able to find a way in. Even if he couldn't, it would be good to throw a wrench in the enemy's plans. But he was stuck in Chen Xie Hall, surrounded by guards. How was he going to get news out? Leah gave it some thought. Since the other party was trying to deceive him, he might as well take advantage of that and use the opportunity to escape. They definitely couldn't be expecting that. And as for how he'd do that, he was still pregnant with their daughter. He wasn't sure if he wanted to risk it, and didn't know if it would work. User, the system chose that moment to interrupt. The main mission, sharing the country with the Tyrant, is in progress, so the durability of your scales is doubled and is effective as protection. Please take care. I think the system is starting to care about him just a little bit. Maybe that's just me. The system reminded him that his stats were doubled. His scales were already hard enough normally that even splashing through crystal bottle didn't hurt him. So if it was doubled on top of that, he should have no problem even with his daughter. It even counted as a form of protection. No matter how often the fish scanning system tricked him, it was still quite reliable at critical moments. Leo couldn't let this opportunity slip by, so he decided to trust himself in the system. He confidently told the servant, I can't leave right now, even though Dabao is crying, but I'm quite worried. I did bring the pet fish from the manor, and Dabao loves this fish. If you bring it to him, he might become more well behaved. The servant didn't expect Prince Jing's consort to be so hard to persuade. Not only did he refuse to leave with him, he even asked him to deliver a fish. The servant hesitated to answer, afraid the consort had some hidden plan. I can't decide what his plan is with this. Is it like giving the fake fish or the dead fish to them and then escaping separately, or having them transport him, but then he could have just as well gone as himself? I'm not sure. Leo pretended not to see his hesitation. This is Hannah's favorite fish, he added with a smile. Please be extremely careful. Prince Jing's love for raising fish was well known throughout the capital, and the servant had heard of it as well. The servant figured that having this pet fish in his hands might be useful for making Prince Jing comply later, so he nodded and agreed to deliver the fish. Leo said that he had to pack things up and return to the palace room, then whispering to the guards, he ordered them to wait outside the door. Soon after, the door opened, and, as instructed, the guard went inside. He came out with a huge crystal bottle with a silver koi with golden scales swimming happily inside it. The guards walked over with the bottle and informed the servant that this was the fish the consort wanted to give to the young chasseur. The servant took the bottle. With a quick glance at it, he left on his own with the bottle, barring the guards from following him. Prince Jing's oldest son wasn't actually in the palace, so it was impossible to give it to Dabao, nor could he send it to Chengqing Palace. The servant decided to keep the fish for now and deal with it later. Lian knew the servant was definitely dishonest. There were a lot of places in the palace with water, so his initial plan was to break the crystal bottle as soon as he got close to some water and jump in. As long as he was in water, he could swim away. What did he have to fear? I feel like there's going to be a massive snag in this plan. I just don't know what it is yet. So he stayed in the crystal bottle, quietly waiting for the opportunity. Suddenly someone came over and stopped the suspicious servant. Stop. What is in your hand? The person asked. Six, Highness, the servant greeted him. As in Mutian Shao? Leo was shocked. How could there be a sixth Highness in the palace right now? Turning his fish body around, he swam closer to the wall of the bottle. Sure enough, he saw Mutian Tianshao's scarred, unhealed face. I should have expected he would escape somehow, but I hoped we wouldn't be dealing with him anymore. The Sixth Prince had once tried to assassinate the Emperor. The Emperor definitely wouldn't have forgiven the Sixth Prince, but he was now out of prison and could even wander around the palace freely. This meant that the Emperor must be under his control, and his release definitely had something to do with this mysterious force related to Luo Lan. No matter how unlikely Leah had thought it before, it was confirmed when the Sixth Prince appeared. He stared at him nervously. What did the Sixth Prince want to do? Wu Tianshao observed the fish in the crystal bottle for a while. Is this Prince Jing's fish? The servant nodded. Wu Tianshao no longer had to play nice. I'll bring it over, he said, smiling coolly. He grabbed the crystal bottle, uninterested in any argument. His icy gaze fell on Leah, who froze. He knew that the Sixth Prince had asked about the fish several times already. Was he suspicious of the fish? He had to pretend to be a brainless fish as fast as he could. An unintelligent fish wouldn't understand what the Sixth Prince was saying, and definitely wouldn't feel afraid. Leah forced himself to keep on swimming around the crystal bottle until under the Sixth Prince's intense gaze. I am stressed, guys. I am like so many levels of stress right now. Okay. Wu Shao couldn't find anything wrong with the fish, but he thought of an idea. He started striding towards Chengqing Palace with the crystal bottle in hand. Stop, stop, stop. His fishy fate wasn't in his own hands. He had to change his plan. Meeting up with his husband was okay too. Leah's husband had already been sitting in Chengqing Palace for 30 minutes. He still hadn't seen the emperor. The concubines were all there, as well as the seventh and eighth princes. There were a lot of people, but nobody said anything. They just sat in a group, staring at each other uneasily. Thanks to his cold personality, Prince Jing wasn't very close to any of them. The eighth prince walked over, eyeing him pitifully. Fifth royal brother, can I sit next to you? After what had happened at the hunting festival, the eighth prince felt that it was safest near Prince Jing. Prince Jing smiled slightly and nodded, letting him sit. Soon after, the seventh prince trotted over and sat next to the eighth prince. There was a noise from deeper within the hall, and a servant announced, "The emperor is here." If this is the arrival of Liu Shao and that's how we find out the emperor is dead, I'm not gonna throw this book, but I'm gonna be sorely tempted to do it. Okay? Prince Jing focused in and was and not long after the emperor emerged, surrounded by a bunch of servants. Prince Jing observed carefully that the emperor looked pale and in poor spirits. Consort Zhang was standing behind him, and behind her was noble Lady Che. The emperor seemed as if he was actually gravely ill. He needed help after taking just a few steps, and his breathing was labored. The emperor quickly sat on the dragon throne, and a servant placed a cup of tea next to his hand. The emperor waved his hand irritably and didn't take it. The servant put it on the table in front of the emperor and moved to the side. Consort Zhang, noble lady chair. I can't remember what roles they were playing in things. Oh, I'm lost. Not long after, Consort Zhang came over to pick up a cup of tea and personally put it next to his lips. This time the emperor drank some. Consort Zhang called for a handkerchief and dotingly wiped the drops of tea that fell onto the dragon. Well, we don't have to wonder who we have to worry about, it seems. Chuyin Yu, noble lady Chu, bought a soft pillow and put it behind the emperor's back. The concubines thus realized that Consort Zhang was probably above them all now, as she seemed to be enjoying the emperor's favor. Consort Zhang and the sixpence were the ones who brought noble lady Chu to the palace, so he was in cahoots with them and naturally rose in position alongside them. Okay, that's why I wasn't sure about Lady Cheers, because it was the guy that was supposed to be the original love interest, right? But the sixth prince had been thrown into prison, and Consort Zhang was usually a quail. How had the pearl become the favorite? When Prince Jing saw Consort Zhang and Qi Yanyi arrive with the emperor, he realized something was wrong. The emperor saw Prince Jing too. His eyes fluttered and his lips moved, but Consort Zhang lightly smiled, and the spark in the emperor's eyes dimmed. He nodded apathetically at Prince Jing. Does she have some kind of control over him? Like, it's not just a oh, I'm ill kind of thing, it's a I can't speak, or I can't do anything of my own volition kind of thing. Prince Jing noticed the slight change in the emperor's expression. He understood that the emperor was a bit weary of Consort Zhang. It was strange that she had suddenly become the favorite in the couple of days that he hadn't seen the emperor. Tencho, you're here too, the emperor said. Prince Jing and the emperor had agreed privately beforehand that he couldn't reveal his muteness had been cured, so he simply silently bowed his head as he usually did. The emperor looked startled when he saw Prince Jing, which meant he wasn't the one who'd issued the edict summoning Prince Jing here, and there were many more guards around Qin Palace than usual. Head Eunuch Law was still missing. Prince Jing calmly memorized the positioning of all the guards in the main hall, in case he needed to know it in the future. The emperor glanced at Consort Zhang and said to a servant nearby, "Summon the sixth prince. I have an announcement." The servant agreed verbally, but he kept looking at Consort Zhang. She smiled and said, "Even Prince Jing is here. How could we leave the Marquis of An and the Marquis of Ping out?" The Marquis of An and the Marquis of Ping had actually been summoned to the palace in advance, just as Prince Jing was, and were currently waiting in the side hall. The emperor immediately changed his mind. "All right, go summon the Marquis of An and the Marquis of Ping. I have an announcement." When the concubines heard this, they looked at each other. With the addition of the two marquises, all of the princes would be there. Was the emperor what was the emperor's announcement? The Marquis of An and the Marquis of Ping filed in one after another. The Marquis of An's mind was still hazy, and a servant helped him to a spot slightly farther away. The Marquis of Ping had fallen out of favor for a long time, but now he was finally being summoned by the emperor. He hurriedly scampered to the foot of the throne. Well, father, since you're feeling unwell, I'll do anything you need, through hell or high water. The Marquis of Ping would have carved out his own heart for the Emperor if he could. Tianming ghosted next to the Marquis of An. The Emperor rubbed his forehead and assigned him to a farther spot as well. The Marquis of Ping saw his hope fading away again, so he obeyed, embarrassed. Summon the sixth prince, the Emperor said again. This time Consort Zhang nodded. The servant quickly left, and came back just as quickly, because he'd run into the sixth prince, who was already rushing over. When Mu Tianshao entered, he had already changed out of the stained clothes he wore in prison. Though there were still injuries on his face, every movement he made was full of glee. As he entered, he purposefully shot Prince Jing an aggressive glance. Prince Jing's eyes met his expression unchanging as the sixth prince walked to the emperor. Mu Tianshao didn't bother acting in front of the emperor anymore, and clasped his hands together in a casual greeting. Without waiting for the emperor's permission to sit, he found a seat nearby and sat down. The emperor stared at him coldly, but didn't object. How could the sixth prince behave so wildly in front of the emperor, and why did the emperor permit it? Prince Jing had already guessed that Consort Zhang was behind it. The way she carried herself was completely different, and from the way the emperor treated her, it was clear that she was holding him hostage somehow, which meant the sixth prince was left unchecked. The other concubines present had also come to the same conclusion. They'd never seen such a scene before, and they were all too frightened to speak. Fifth royal brother, long time no see. Why don't I give you a gift to commemorate the occasion? The sixth prince taunted Prince Jing with a smile. Several servants came in, holding something in their hands. Even Prince Jing, who was usually calm in the face of danger, was stunned when he saw what they were carrying. The servants had brought in a crystal bottle, holding a silver-colored koi speckled with gold. The fish was already wagging its tail, but after seeing Prince Jing, his tail flapped even more vigorously. Ah, husband, I'm so glad you're all right. We finally meet again. Leah happily spits out a trail of bubbles. Leah, time and place. Time and place. Your poor husband is about to have a heart attack. Okay, so we are at the end of the chapter, so I'm gonna stop it here, even though we still have 5 minutes left of the live stream, because I think it just works better that way. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm so excited to be back. I hope the audio continues to be louder now with the new mic. And yeah, we will be back on Saturday if all goes well for me to continue with this, because we have a lot of catching up to do considering the times that I missed out. So I hope I will see you guys then. 再见。